good morning and welcome because we are going to start off with the career counseling program, the online career counseling program. Today with us, we have got Dr. Rohit Singh, a very profound professor of Oro University. Uh, Dr. Singh is presently working as professor and dean academics at Oro University and has got a teaching experience spanning over 17 years. Before joining this institute, Dr. Singh worked for the GD Goenka World Institute, Lancaster University at Gurgaon, and at the School of Management Sciences, Varanasi, as a reader. Dr. Singh, thank you for joining us today and for hosting this webinar in association with the Hanifa School. I hope the students, and everyone who is watching this webinar would benefit from this career counseling program. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shrey. Very good morning to all the participants. Honorable Principal Madam from Hanifa School, we really sorry to hear about the loss of your very dear family member, and I thank Shrey for orchestrating this program, where he has helped us for the last 2 weeks in organizing and floating this message to the audience, and audience basically the students who are going to graduate from their class 12, from the Hanifa School. The purpose of having this online career counseling is that we are talking to a lot of students, and the students are standing at the crossroads, and they're not able to find or understand where they should go at what point of time. What we have seen is that a lot of students who are graduating from the class 12, it is just like that standing and they don't know where to go. And as the old story goes, that Alice in the Wonderland, where the cat Cheshire was standing near the tree and it asked, "Where do you want to go?" And the cat came the reply that I don't know. And then the answer is, if you don't know where you want to go, then any road will take you there. And that is what is happening with a lot of students who are about to graduate from their class 12 or who have already graduated. What we have seen, we have done a small survey in the past, and we have found it out that a lot of students who go out into making the choices, there are two options. Either you are going to make a choice by a chance, or the choice comes with an informed decision which you are taking based on the decision by a discussion with the faculty members, discussion with the peers, discussion with the parents. When we did a survey and tried to find out how students make a decision, we have come to know that there are 5 factors which makes a compelling role into their choice of career which they want to pursue. One is very important is that they are getting influenced by these friends. We call it peer pressure. Second comes that, okay, fine, my father wants me to do a BBA, therefore I am going for a BBA, otherwise I was interested into designing. Third comes the reply, because my teacher says that this is a good career option, so I am thinking that because I look towards her or him as an idol and I follow her. Fourth is, okay, this is my choice because I want to pursue a career over here. And fifth, it is said that, okay, because of the social pressure also, because it is being said that, okay, fine, nowadays management is going good, so we should focus upon management, forget about arts. So these are the basic premise on which we have seen that students make a choice based on the the pressures which they face. And these are the 5 areas of pressure we have identified from the doing a survey with the students. My question to all of you as a student is that when we are trying to make a career choice, we need to take into consideration 2 very important factors. That the choice which I'm going to make is because it is my decision, number 1. And second is, you have very well drafted your career plan for your next 3 to 4 years. What we have seen is that, fine, this is my choice, but I don't know what I'm going to do. Let's see once we complete our first year or second year, maybe after graduation also. So my request to all the students is that, can you sit quietly, do one exercise where you find, okay, from next 3 to 5 years, this is what I want to do. And when I say this is what I want to do, it means you are reaching at the goal which you foresee to do after your 5 years of study, 3 years of study, 2 years of experience, 2 years of master, whatever way you want to move. And then you say, okay, fine, if this is my goal, then you move backward and start preparing. What are the things which are needed so that I can go and achieve these goals? To be very honest, what we have seen is students normally, they start entering into a career choice on the basis as it is coming. Meaning, whatever it is coming, you are accepting it. My request is don't accept it as it is coming. Rather, can you change it as per your choices which you are making? Number two question comes, okay, fine. If I'm not going to prepare a career plan and this is not my informed choice, what will happen to me? Let's see. So it is year on year basis that you are moving, and it may be a possibility that you may end up where you don't want to. So these are the things which happen to the students when they move out of, their class 12th. And the most important component which we have seen is, as you're moving out of class 12th, you feel you are mature enough. That is fine. You are mature enough now. No doubt about it. But still there are many things which you are not aware about as a student. So don't you think that whatever decision you're going to make, it should be based on certain pros and cons which you should have evaluated before you jump into it. So what I feel, Shrey, is that a lot of students, they move towards the goal without any career plan in their mind. And when any problems comes up, there they feel lost, because it was their choice. They have not discussed with anyone. And nowadays there are very good counselors available in the in the academic fields, and you can go and talk to the counselors. They will help you map your skill sets, and they can also predict, okay, fine, these are the areas where you should move as per the career choice. So these things are nowadays available, which were not available during our time. So these are the benefits which you are getting as a student, which will help you to move toward the career plan. Third most important factor which you as a student have to take into consideration is, when you are making a career choice, it is not only related to the program which you want to do. Now, when I say program, it may be a hotel management, it may be a design program, it may be a management program, it may be arts, it may be music, it may be anything which you want to do. Question is, have you went into detail and find it out? Okay, fine. If I want to do BA Liberal Arts with psychology as my majors and my economics as my minor, what are the institutions which are in India and abroad where I can go and pursue? What will happen with you is, when you go and see these details, what you will see is that there are certain requisites which are mentioned in the school websites and the universities and colleges website, which they say, okay, fine, if you want to do psychology, you should understand organizational behavior. If you want to understand organizational behavior, fine, you should move towards clinical psychology. If you want to move towards clinical psychology, there are many other options available in psychology also. So they will give you a number of avenues and let you know, okay, fine, these are the ways. If you're moving BA Liberal Arts with psychology as the majors, what you can do. And these are the career choices which you can make if you complete your BA Liberal Arts with psychology as a major. So my suggestion to the students who are here attending the webinar is, please go and check the institution list which are offering these programs, and they will help you understand where you will land up once you complete this program. Why it is happening? Because today, after completing my class 12, I may not be in a position to know, okay, fine, psychology will land up into 5 career options. But I am looking at psychology, okay, fine, this is a very good field. I see a lot of counselors over there, they're making very good money. No, that is only the one perspective which you're looking at. Why don't you take into consideration what are the other options which are available from psychology? I don't know how many students are here who have done their class 12 with mathematics, but there's a very good combination which is coming up these days. Is a student who is graduating from class 12, they may land up into their bachelor's degree, and that bachelor degree may be into statistics, mathematics, and economics. And why I'm saying so, because if you see the trend which is prevalent these days, a lot of career options are available for the students in the field of marketing analytics. A lot of options are available into the field of data mining and data analytics. There are a lot of firms like KPMG, PricewaterhouseCoopers, who are looking forward for the students who are good in data cracking and data mining. So it is not always that, okay, fine, I have done my class 12 with commerce, I cannot take economic, mathematics, and statistics. So if you explore that opportunity, you will find there's a very good job prospect which is coming up in the market, because industry is in need of it. And then there's also an option, okay, fine, I want to take commerce, I am good in mathematics, so what else I can do? So you will find that the one field which is coming up of late is what you call insurance sector. Now, I'm not saying selling of the insurance policy as a career. What I'm saying is, can't you land up into a field where the people are involved into calculation of premiums and data crunching, where they create all kind of policies based on the information and data which are available? And that is where you move specifically specialized field of insurance as one of the sectors also for yourself. My suggestion is, when you're moving towards it, you need to see what are your core strengths, what are the gaps which you see as an individual where you find this is your weakness? Okay, fine. My weakness is I cannot have a good English speaking at this point of time. Can I move and build my career in journalism? No, sorry. But question is, can I improve myself in these 2 years and then move toward journalism? Yes, that is possible. But that is happening only when you map your strength with your weakness. And when you collide that strength and weakness together, then you see, okay, fine, if my skill sets are into this category, I will definitely move into these specialized fields. So my suggestion to all the students is, first you prepare a career plan. With that career plan, you try to find it out, okay, fine, these are the areas where I want to move. Please then try to find it out, what are the career options which are available if I complete these courses. And then number 3, try to map your skill sets by building upon the strengths and weaknesses which you have. Now, where is the role of teachers like us come into picture? What you can do is, when you're making a career plan and you are trying to find it out, okay, fine, this is the way I want to move. And sir or ma'am, these are my skill set which I've identified. I still have 2 years down the line before I graduate. So I want to improve upon all these skill sets. That will really help you all to move confidently, because then you will not get lost during the course of your study that, okay, fine, I was not aware that this course will be having mathematics. So if you prepare these very well and try to match and mix your skill sets, I'm confident there are students who are not good in class 12, they scored hardly 60-65%. But once they move into their higher education, they are doing really very good, and they have scored also more than 75%, and then they land up into the place where they want to. So these are the common mistakes which I have found it out in the students when they move out of their class 12. So these are my few observations. If you have any specific question, then move ahead, and then I will take it from there.
Yes, sure. As you see, the pandemic, it has broken down everything. What do you think about the impact of COVID-19, especially in this year? Do you see any trends changing, and the colleges, the admission procedure? Because right now, in fact, nobody is sure what's going to happen next. So what do you think could be what should the students do as of now? Because they've got their results. CBSE is soon going to announce the results within a day or two. What should the students do right after that?
So that is what I suggested, is because I see there will be a big time available at the disposal of the students at this point of time. What I foresee as a teacher also, that before October, I think things are not going to become normal. And even if things are going to become normal, then there's a possibility that a lot of classes which may happen, that is going to happen online. So the total duration which a student was able to spend at the universities or the schools was on an average coming around 6 to 8 hours. That will come down drastically, and it is a possibility that you may be spending only 4 hours, and that too happening through online mode.
Okay.
So there is a lot of time available at the end of the students, because now they are not restricted into that 4 walls of the classroom and the nomenclatures of the school and the institutions, but rather they have the free time available to upskill their abilities. A lot of students at this point of time, for example, at our university, we have taken the Coursera courses, and which has been given to free of cost to the students, and we have requested students that they can get enrolled as per their choices, and they can get upgrade themselves to certain knowledge level. With reference to the question that, okay, fine, will the classes start? I doubt that by October it is not going to happen. Now, the point comes, what the student will do. So as I was reflecting that, okay, fine, if a student wants to move into insurance sector and it is not related to selling of insurance policy per se, that is basically defined as the actuarial sciences. So you may turn up learning many more things, calculation of permutation and combinations, how the insurance policy premiums are being calculated, and what are the requisites which a student should know before they move on to that actuarial sciences stream. And to be very honest, if I study the industry today, the trend which is available, there are 90 people who are required in industry, but only 5 are available. So there's a big gap of 85 positions. And to be very honest, the students who are going to graduate, they don't know that, okay, actuarial science is one of the streams where there's a lot of possibilities. Because when I see the commerce students, they either want to do CA, CFA, CS, ICWA or MBA. What else after that? Okay, fine, I will move to bank PO. What else? and there comes very close restriction on the number of choices which they want to explore. My suggestion is, why don't you see at data analytics, why don't you see at actuarial sciences, why don't you move toward maritime courses where there's a possibility that you may land up into a new revenues. So my request to the students who are sitting at this point of time at home and they're not going to school or colleges is that they should get registered themselves into the free online courses which are available, and they just try to explore the possibilities that, okay, fine, this can also be one of my career options if I graduate in 2023, or if I graduate in 2022, what I will do after that. So that will really help them to understand the new avenues and fields which are coming up in the market and where they can land up for a possible job opportunity. So that is my suggestion, Shri. Yeah.
So actually, we have got few attendees, and one of them did mention about actual sciences.
Okay.
I believe the question he did not type the full question, but I think it is more relating to, we would like to know about this course. So can you please tell us in details what are actual sciences and
so
pursue this?
Yeah. So if you see, I take two examples. If you see HDFC Life, that is an insurance company, and then you take the other insurance company, the LIC. So one falls into the public sector, the other falls into the private sector, and HDFC is having a collaboration with the foreign company in terms of the insurance product. Now, when we go on to buy insurance product from these companies, what they say, okay, fine, this is an insurance policy. This is going to be for 20 years. Every month you have to pay premium of 1,200, and if you go for this amount, your premium increases to this, and your coverage of risk increases manifold. And now that looks very easy because that is a person who is coming to you and explaining the pros and cons of the policy. He's selling in that way. There's a lot of hard work which is done behind the scene before actually the policy comes into the market. And the people who are managing those data, managing those policy calculations, they are basically the actuarial sciences. And that is what I told initially is that, okay, fine, can I take statistics, mathematics and economics as one of my options as a career? Now, because students don't know it, there are people who are not able to tell them. So there's the Institute of Actuarial Sciences in Mumbai. You can go and pursue the course from there, or you can land up into a very good institution where they're having an MBA in Actuarial Sciences or in other field, insurance management. But insurance as a field is not considered very lucrative because at the outset, we are only considering with the sales of insurance policy. But nobody is considering that, okay, insurance policies are also designed and they're also being framed in such a manner that it looks lucrative before it is being sold to the market. And these are the people who are into that background. Then I took the example of HDFC Life. They invest their money into the mutual funds and they calculate the net asset value. And those all valuations are being done by the asset manager and the actuarial sciences. So, okay, fine, what value will be there today, what value will be there tomorrow based on the demand and supply of the total units which is being circulated into the market. So, those are very, very good prospect for a student who's moving from, mathematics or a stream. So, they should look towards that as one of the options for coming up with the choices. Yeah.
So, is there any eligibility criteria to get into this? Like, is there like they have to score 65% or 70% in core subjects? Like, generally we see all this eligibility criteria they have to meet, and only then they can get selected.
Yeah. So, Shrey, it is dependent upon the what you call the institution where you want to pursue. But normally they say that 55 to 60% is the minimum eligibility criteria on the basis of qualifying examination. Now, when I say qualifying examination, there are certain integrated courses of 5 years where you can take admission after class 12. So there the qualifying marks will be the subject to the result of class 12. If you go for a master's, that you want to do an MBA into actuarial sciences or you want to land up into a master's program in actuarial sciences, there the qualifying examination becomes your graduation marks. So BCom, BA, BSc, whatever you have done, BBA you have done, BSc ID you have done. So those programs, their qualifying marks become the what you call criteria for admission into the master program. That is one. Then there are institutions which take entrance examination. So you have to qualify that entrance examination. Then you land up into for interview. And then composite score of your class 12, normally they say 50% of the class 12 and 50% of the written test and the interview of the institution combined together will be helping in the merit list for the institution. So that depends upon institution to institution, But these are generally, and normally they say you should have mathematics in your class 12, or if you're going for a master program, Then they say you should have a mathematics in your graduation program. But there are courses where they say, okay, fine, if you have not done mathematics, that is okay. But in additional credit, you should complete your mathematics before you will land up into the second or third semester onwards into the actuarial sciences. So my request to the students who are looking towards this field, that they should be having an inclination and interest towards numbers, particularly in mathematics.
Okay. So you also, while giving the answer right now, you said about the integrated management programs and basically integrated programs, wherein they are of 4 or 5 years together. So, it's still a very new concept. It has not been introduced not very far ago. I believe it was introduced a couple of years ago only. So what do you feel about this integrated courses? Are they better to do off with? Because if a student is going and they are just after 3 years they are just normal graduates. What about the integrated program? How far do you think they are useful for a student?
Okay. So if you see the concept of integrated program, it is normally either 4 year or 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Indore was the first one that started an integrated program in management. And that was that, okay, after class 12, you have to give their entrance examination. Once you qualify that, they will give you admission into what they call it BBA 5-year integrated program. And then they have an option to move that after 3 years, if you feel that you don't want to continue, at later point you identified, okay, it was just by chance that I entered into management field, but now I don't want to enter here, I want to pursue some other field. And if you take an exit, there's a possibility you will get only an undergrad degree, which is BBA. And then you move out after 3 years. A lot of institutions like ITs and triple ITs, which are there in India, they are having 5-year BTech MBA program. And there you can move out of BTech after 4th year, your MBA comes down to 1 year. And they say, okay, fine, I don't want to do MBA, I'm moving out. But again, if you want to come back to do an MBA, it will be 2 years. So the advantage which you are getting is, first is that after class 12, you are getting an admission which will be charting your way for next 5 years. So no hassles of admission, filling forms, giving entrance examination, interviews and all those things. Second objective is that you are mentally free to pursue your other career interest while pursuing these integrated programs. Now, the advantage is that at the very first point, you know where you are going to end up. So that is the first thing. Second point is that once you are into an integrated program, for example, there are also integrated programs which are 4 years, which says, okay, fine, BBA plus family managed business program, BBA plus capital market, BBA plus insurance. So there you again have an option that, okay, fine, if you're going to complete your BBA 3 years and you feel you want to move out, you can move out with a BBA degree. But then you feel, okay, no, I want to do a diploma in family business because you're going for a diploma. So you will land up 1 more year and you do family business or a capital market or an insurance or any other area where you want to move. What is the advantage over here? A lot of students who want to pursue their higher education abroad, normally the undergrad degree at abroad is for 4 years. Yeah. And then masters is for 1 year. In India, we have undergrad of 3 years and masters of 2 years. So the prerequisite for taking admission into master program abroad is that you should have completed to 16 years of education, which is 12 plus 4. Okay, so some students who have a very good clarity that, okay, they want to pursue masters only from abroad and from this institution, they land up into integrated program. There are other institutions who are very clear they want to move into this field only, they land up into integrated program. So there is a triple IT in Gwalior, which is called Indian Institute of Information Technology, Atal Bihari Vajpayee International Institute of Information Technology and Management. There they give BTech plus MBA. Okay, so integrated. IIM Indore gives integrated 5-year program of management. So 3-year BBA, 2-year BA DBM, so whatever you are getting, And of late, IIM Rohtak has also started. At our university also, we have integrated program. There are other universities in Gujarat and in India who are offering 5-year integrated program. So it's BBA LLB, BCom LLB, BA LLB, like this, BSc LLB. So you have a combination. Now, what is the difference between a BBA LLB and normal LLB? So LLB normally students do once they complete their graduation. If you are doing BBA LLB, you are starting initially after 12th. So you are getting all the information, knowledge, learning from the field of management along with the field from law. And then you decide, okay, fine, I don't want to end up into law. Fine, you can end up into a company as a corporate lawyer also. So integrated program gives a lot of bandwidth to move your career choices when time will come. When time will come means while you start moving towards the graduation, you also become mature enough and you evaluate the options available to you. So at that point of time, integrated programs play a very important role rather than being a simple graduate.
Yeah, actually, sir, you also answered my second question. The question was relating to, it's a common trend in Gujarat, especially, that students after completing 12, they look to pursue education abroad. They like to go to Canada and different countries for education. So I just wanted to know your take on this. Should they pursue graduation over here? Should they go ahead? As you said, the best thing would be for them to go for the integrated course and finish their integrated course over here and then pursue further studies in abroad, right? What about students who want to, right after 12, want to go abroad? Do you think it's a feasible option, or should they complete their studies over here itself? Minimum a graduation should be done over here itself. Which one is better as per your experience?
No, I cannot answer that which one is better, but yes, I can help you understand what is the best option for you.
Yeah.
So there are two choices which a student has after class 12.
Yes, sir.
One is to study in India, complete their graduation, complete one more year study by having an integrated program, do their 16 years of education in India, and then move to masters, abroad. And if I see in Gujarat, the 4 or 5 prominent countries which are there where they want to move is, one is USA, other is Canada, third is Australia, then they want to move to Middle East or maybe New Zealand or other African nations where they already have some family base and they feel that this education system will surely help them to move into their family business in a much better manner. Number one. There are students who have very clear idea that fine, once they complete their graduation and master, they will settle down abroad. So they are looking for the permanent residency application, which file has already been moved, and they want to have the exposure of that country before they finally settle it down. And if they like it, they will stay. If they don't like it, they always have an option of coming back to their home country. Now, when I say you need to evaluate and decide whether you want to move outside India, is my take is, and that is what I always advise my students, don't go in undergrad. Why? Because in India, the education system is supposed to be completed at one stretch. And when I say one stretch, you do your 12th, you do your graduation, you do your masters, and then you are ready for a job.
Yeah.
If you see abroad, fine, you have done your class 12, you don't feel like go and do a job for a year.
Yeah.
Then go for your undergrad, then again do a job for 3 years and then come back to masters. So when you're coming back to masters, you know that fine, you are working from last 3 years in a retail store in USA and you felt that fine, you want to know the detail about the supply chain management of a retail store. Therefore, you are coming into masters masters in business in supply chain management. So that is the clarity you will get with exposure. The take for the Indian student is, when they are moving abroad for the education, my suggestion to them always is move for a master's degree. Reason being, when you are moving for the master's degree and you are completing your undergrad and your integrated 4-year program in India, first of all, you are saving cost. Your 4-year fees in India is equivalent to 1-year fees in abroad. So you are saving cost, number one. Doing an undergrad from any institution abroad will not add any feather to you. It will be one of the cosmetic degree where you can boast and say, fine, I have done my undergrad from so-and-so university from this country. Even there also, you have to slog yourself to get a work experience or a master's degree before you are ready. When I say my take is on advising a student to do an undergrad degree from India and then move to masters, because once you move to master, there is always a criteria into the master's admission that once you complete your masters, you will get an opportunity to stay in that country for next 2 years to work. So you also get a work permit, work visa. So you can extend your stay from your completion. The biggest difference which you see is the internship opportunity which comes to the student is available in the foreign country master's program. So they are very well closely knitted to the industry, their master program. So there's a possibility, that example I gave you, that you want to do masters in business from supply chain management. So there is an institution from which they have a collaboration or they're already having a tie-up with Walmart, and each student has to spend 3 months in Walmart before they complete the next semester. So that is the kind of practical knowledge which you are going to get if you are landing up into a master's program. My suggestion is complete your undergrad from India, save your money, move to a master's degree where you will get an opportunity to work also. And that is always advisable, because by the time you are completing your graduation, you are mature enough to decide where you want to do.
Very good. Yes.
I have seen a lot of students, they go abroad, but they come back after 2 years and they said, this is not what I was looking for, so I thought I should come back. Now, when you're coming back, you have wasted your 2 years there and money and time, everything. Now, again, you have to study 3 years in India. So, as I started with, you prepare a career plan, do your master's here, see what you want to do. In between your graduation days, you will come to know about other career options also. Try to align with the thought process of those courses also, weigh the possibilities of pros and cons, and then see whether you really want to move into the particular stream. So that is a very important informed choice which a student has to make before they really decide to move abroad. Okay.
Yeah, sure. That answered quite a few questions, sir. Thank you for that. So I would also like to remind all the attendees who are here, you can all post your questions in the chat group as well, and I'm sure Dr. Singh would be obliged to take your queries up as well. This is just a reminder to all the attendees who are currently attending this live session.
Yeah.
So another question relating to further studies in India is basically scholarship programs. As you see, the pandemic has almost ruined all the spheres of life, and the students, another big issue, challenge for the students is how to cope up with the fees and the demand of the course and everything. So is there any scholarship program which you think a class 12 student who has just cleared his board exam this year can apply? And you have any ideas about the scholarships?
Okay. So the scholarship normally are given in two ways. Two forms of scholarships are available in all the institutions. What you will see is, one is, we call it is a merit-based scholarship. And when we say merit-based scholarship, it is subject to the score which a candidate has secured in his or her class 12. Okay. So which is, we call it merit-based, based on the percentage which you have scored in your class 12. Other is called need-based. For example, if I want to give the example of my university, we have a need base where a student will get a scholarship waiver up to 100% into their tuition fees. Okay, if he or she belongs to an economically weaker class. Now, for that, they have to submit the income proof. They have to submit what their father or mother do, and if they are a single parent child, then they need to submit all those proofs from the registered collector office and all those things. And based on that, we provide a need-based scholarship. Vis-a-vis, there is a merit base which is subject to the class 12. What you can do is that there is a possibility, because of this pandemic, that we have started with. Normally, we never take an installment in the fees, but yes, we have proposed to the management that the fees should be taken in installment. So, candidate can avail that facility of making a payment of 2 or 3 installments and pay the fees. Coming back to your question, that it is subject to the policy of the institutions with reference to the scholarship. But normally, many institutions, they offer merit-based scholarship, which a candidate has to check, which is subject to the percentage, and maybe further subject to an interview which a candidate has to do.
Sure. So we have been, our people who are attending this, we've got 3 questions in the chat screen.
Yeah.
If you'd like to go through those. First question we'll be taking up from Deboshri Ghosh. They ask, job sector has crashed due to lockdown. So what should be the better career option at this situation? So he's talking about basically the overall job sector in India right now, which has crashed down. So according to the current situation, should they think about the current situation and take up the courses accordingly? Or, we think, as soon as this pandemic ends, there would be some end to it. So should they think about a long
So my take for the students who are just graduating from class 12 and they're coming for undergrad programs, you should not be bothered about it. Because by the time you're going to graduate, things will be normal, we hope so. And it is being suggested that by 2021, things will be normal. By March 2021, everything will come back to normal. And we will come out of this crisis. And then if you're taking admission in 2020, you'll be graduating in 2023. So you have those 3 years. But yes, all the students who are going to graduate this year in their graduation or master's program, or maybe next year in March or June, for them it is quite a big question. The market has not crashed. It is a momentum has slowed down, and it is just a very temporary phase where their companies have freezed any kind of job opportunities. For example, my 7 students from MBA program, they got qualified from the Indian hotel company which manages Taj Group of Hotels.
Okay.
And they got placed in a very good managerial positions in Ahmedabad, in Mumbai, and in Surat. But after they qualified, they interviewed, they got the job offer letter and everything. We got a regret letter from the Indian hotel companies, especially the Taj Group, and they say all the job opportunities has been freezed at this point of time. You are advised that if you are going to get any opportunity, please take it. Otherwise, we will wait for the things to become normal and then we will see. So it is a kind of situation where everybody is having an issue, and all those organizations who are providing those job opportunities, they're also now very cautious, because giving a job to you is a salary for you, but it's a cost for the company. No company at this point of time would like to increase the cost for their business operation. So question is, will they offer you a job at this point of time? To be very honest, no, because they have to manage the business also in optimum manner. So if you see the position as on date, it is very grim. People are not getting any kind of new opportunities. People who are already into job, for them there are two challenges: to manage their current job, forget about appraisals and increments. You need to just make yourself exist into the current job where you are doing. Looking at future scenario, this lockdown will definitely compel company to rethink the way they provide and recruit students. And when they provide an employment opportunity or they recruit students, normally it was subject to the availability. Now they have to very well streamline their process of recruitment also, and they have to move and map their recruitment policy in consonance with the requirement which they have even today and even down the line 6 months and 1 year also. So that will be becoming very much more rigorous and maybe stringent, and they will bring more rules, procedures to streamline and screen candidates before they shortlist them for the final job prospect. So yes, I think competition will increase for sure, but there will be an opportunity for job in the coming days for sure. Yeah.
So,
Yes.
again, it is just a reminder for everybody who is attending that have patience. There is light at the end of every tunnel, right? So that's the message I believe Singh sir is also trying to give to us. So another question from one of the students is from Saad M. Rashid. I'm taking this up. He's asking, sir, can CA be the best option after class 12? Let me just try to reframe this question. That I believe he's trying to ask, can CA preparing for CA right after 12 while doing graduation? There are so many.
Shrey, if you want, you can allow a student directly to ask the question if you allow. No issues.
So of course, I mean, like I can, but they're all posting it on the chat message. So
Okay, whatever way.
Yeah. So may I go ahead and just select this allow to talk thing for them?
Yeah, please.
Sure. So Saad, if you're here, I'm going to provide this as option, allow to talk. Saad, Rashid, you can unmute yourself and you can directly interact with us.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Saad. How are you?
Fine, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, my question is that I am now still in class 12. After class 12, CA is the best option to go, or before CA any other graduation should be done?
So my question back to you is CA your choice or somebody else's choice?
No, ma'am, my choice. My choice.
Great. So if it is your choice, then you should not have this question in your mind. Okay? Because at any point of time, there is a demand for CA. Okay? Now, normally, if you see CA, either they have their own firm or they work as a partner with some other firm, or they move to the company and act as a corporate, person. And each company, they have a group of CA in their panel. And there are few other companies like KPMG, PwC, Ernst & Young, who have a panel of chartered accountant on their board. And once you are doing a CA, it is not always related to costing and accounting. You see that CAs are also being recruited by PwC into their legal firm also.
Okay.
Yes. CAs are also being recruited for joint, collaboration and other opportunities in terms of joint venture and possible future collaboration coming for the company. So they negotiate on behalf of the companies. So my request to you is, if you're looking forward for the chartered accountancy as a course for you, you should pursue it, number one. Number two, once you are pursuing it, you need to find it out where do you want to go, whether you want to open your own firm, whether you want to become a partner in the firm, or you want to end up into any good corporate company, which will help you to build your career. I have seen a lot of CAs, they initially enter into corporate houses like KPMG, Ernst & Young and PwC. They stay there for at least 10-15 years. They get a global exposure with these companies, and then they come back and they start their own firm. So at any point of time, chartered accountancy is a good option. Now, question is, how safe it is to be a CA? Now, it is possible in every field that the more you upskill yourself, the more you have the knowledge in the related field, the more people will know you. So you need to be updated. You need to be upgrading yourself at each point of time to be relevant into the markets. That is my piece of advice to you. Okay, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I hope that clarifies the doubt, Saad, which you have. So I've got another participant, Hetvi. She asked one question. Let me just go ahead and allow her as well to chat with you directly. Hetvi, if you are listening, may I go ahead and just allow you to talk? You can just simply unmute yourself and you can directly ask your question to Dr. Singh. Just a second.
Good morning. Go ahead.
Sir, yes, sir. I would like to tell that I've been getting suggestions about that you could opt CA or MBA in finance, but I'm also getting suggestion that if you would take MBA in finance, then you would end up taking jobs. So, can MBA option taken into a consideration if I want to be a owner or in a firm something, or start my own company like that? If I'm not,
I don't know who has given you a suggestion that if you will land up into MBA with finance, you will end up into job only. That is a very wrong notion. Now remember one thing, MBA program is basically which helps you to get a detailed nuance of the field of management with reference to marketing, finance, HR, operations, supply chain and many other areas. Okay?
Yes.
Now question is, if your interest is into finance, then the fields which is getting open for you after doing MBA in finance will be related to financial services, products and all those things, So question is, what you want to do business into? If you want to open a firm, if you want to do your own business in any other area apart from finance field, that is possible for you. There is no restriction that if you will do MBA in finance, you will not be able to do business. So that is a very wrong notion. Okay. Now, choice is that if you're doing MBA in finance, then you may open business into financial services, financial advisory role. You may set up your own firm where you are recruiting people who are helping into financial advisors. That is a possible for you that is a possibility for you if you're looking for a business venture, So there is no restriction that after MBA you can't do that. Okay. CA, as I just told to Saad also, I'm telling you that you need to decide that whether you want to do CA or you want to do MBA. There are a lot of students who go for CA, and once they complete their CA, they also complete their MBA. So that you can explore an opportunity for sure. Okay.
Okay, so thank you.
Actually, sir, I have already allowed him. I believe, Harun sir, if you could just simply unmute yourself, you'd be able to ask a question if you wish to.
Or you can go ahead with Shrey with some other candidate if they're ready. I think Misala is ready.
Okay,
Yes.
it's same case with Misala as well. Misala, you could also ask a question directly if you wish to. They just need to unmute themselves. In the meantime, if there is anybody else who'd like to ask any questions, they can post the question. We can also allow you to join us directly, and you can directly chat with us. I'm sure Dr. Singh would be obliged to answer all the questions which you asked. So in the meanwhile, I also have a question, if you don't mind. Can I ask you?
Yeah, please, Shrey, please go ahead. Yeah.
So do you think, especially during these times, during the pandemic, are there any additional efforts which institute should take as a safety measure for the students for the time being?
Shrey, what we have done is, and what many institutions are also doing it, that as per the guidelines received from the University Grants Commission, all the existing course batches, they will be starting from 17th of August, but that will be on an online mode.
Okay.
And and the new batches will only start from 1st September. Okay. And all these classes, they will be started only online because government is not allowing as a policy measure that you can call a student in the campus. So what we were talking in the past that okay, blended learning mode is a possibility, now it is. So a lot of teaching and learning will be happening through online, at least 25 to 50%, and rest 50% if the things return normal by October, November, then we are in a position to call the students in the campus. Still following all the guidelines which the students are saying. And this is a good opportunity for the students also because from the comfort of the home, though it is many of them were not immune to this online classes. So they have a problem of bandwidth, they have a problem of adjusting to the online classes because no personal attention was possible to the students, which was available in the classroom setting. So student also has to upgrade themselves with the experience of getting online teaching learning process. So that is going to be the new normal in the coming days for sure. And I hope at your school also, you will not be allowed to call students before September, October for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We are actually, we've been, the schools have been operating even though the lockdown was imposed. We are taking classes on Zoom and we are for all the students, we are doing that. But sir, there's one more, thinking which is going on right now among parents as well as students. That is, if they take a drop this year because of the health concerns, you could say, it is also like many people are thinking that financially also it's going to help them, that they take a drop this year and then go on with the procedure and enroll maybe next year if everything is fine. So, do you have any take about this scenario?
Yeah, so there are two trends which are emerging as on date. One is the homeschooling, and the second is taking a drop. Now, taking a drop because of financial reason is a very different scenario. Because parents may have suffered a hit in terms of salary, parents may have suffered a hit in terms of profitability or operations into the business. So from the money point of view, they are asking the students that if the classes are going online, why don't they take a break and then they come next year for a full-time course. The challenge is for the students who are currently studying within the program. For example, an undergrad student who was about to go into graduate next year, now he is into a catch-22 situation that he cannot take break also and he is not able to join the real classroom also. So for him, the online classroom is the only possibility as soon as he gets it out and take a degree and moves out to the next course, whatever way he wants. There are a lot of students who are also considering that they may take a year break. Things are not getting normal. By the time in January the things will become normal, they will take some 6 months experience and then they will come back after taking experience. Now this is possibility in the universities where the courses allow students to come back and complete the course within a particular time span they mentioned. Many universities they say okay, within 5 years you have to complete your undergrad degree. So there is a possibility that a student who is into the first year, he or she may think of taking a break, and then after a break, maybe next year they come back again into the second year. But yes, initially you were able to complete your degree for 3 years, now you are going to complete your degree in 4 years. So that is a risk which a student has to take and evaluate before they arrive at a decision to going for a homeschooling or a break.
Sure. Sir, also about talking about Auro University in particular, so what all integrated courses and what all courses are offered at Auro University, and what's the procedure of getting admission if somebody...
Okay, so Shrey, just to let you know the brief intro about the Auro University. Auro University was established in the year 2011 as one of the private universities, which is being duly approved by the state government, University Grants Commission, Bar Council of India, AICTE, and every other regulatory agencies in India. Okay. Now, this university is being promoted by a group called Auro Hotels. Earlier, it was GHM Hotel, which is based out of USA, having around 40 to 45 hotels over there, and they are into this business in the last 40 years. And we started with the School of Business, which is offering BBA, BCom, MBA, integrated BBA, family business, integrated BBA, capital market, integrated BBA in BBA, MBA in entrepreneurship and family business. So these are the options which are available. We also have certain short-term certificate courses for the students. Then we have the School of Hospitality, where we are running 4-year BSc BSc Hospitality Management program. This is very different from the run-of-the-mill hotel school which are running there. Why? Because at Auro we have a 4-year program. A student after completing their 2 years, for them it is mandatory to go for an international internship opportunities which are available for 6 months in France, Malaysia, New Zealand, and other places. And if they don't want to go there, they can still do in India also. Because we are having 2 hotels in Surat. One is the Marriott Hotel, Marriott Surat, which is owned by the Oro University itself, and the other in the campus only, it is Courtyard by Marriott Surat. So both these hotels, they belong to us. So a student gets a practical opportunity to go and work in these hotels, and they learn from there, and then they move for an international opportunity. Once a student come back from these 6 months of training, then they go for a mandatory 6 months USA training. And in USA also, we have tied up with American Hospitality Association, and they help us in getting internship opportunities for the student. All these internship opportunities in these countries are paid. So a student is paid a minimum of $10 per hour. In an average daily workload, they earn around $80 per day. And they work for 6 months and another 6 months in different countries. So they are able to recover their fees from these internships. The biggest advantage is that they get an international exposure. At the same point of time, they develop the rapport, and once they complete the course, they get in touch back with the hotels again where they have worked, and they move to USA. So that is a possibility with the students who are doing with the hospitality program. The third school we have is the School of Information Technology, which is having BSc, MSc IT, BSc in MSc IT in Artificial Intelligence, which is all integrated program, and we also have a lot of short-term certificate courses. Fourth school we have School of Law, where we are running 2 integrated programs. One is into BBLLB and other is BLLB, and then students have an opportunity to move for a master's program, which is LLM. And all these integrated programs, they have inbuilt internship opportunities for 5 years. So where again a student is being put in front of the companies, law firms, high courts, Supreme Courts, where they go and work for it. Fifth program we have a School of Design. In this school we have is a Bachelor of Design in Interior Design, Communication Design, and Fashion and Textile. We are going to start with gems and jewelry, and very shortly we are also going to start for other design courses, product design. Sixth school we have School of Liberal Arts, where we are having integrated BA MA program in liberal arts with psychology, economics, history, English, Urdu studies as one of the majors, and you can move on as per your choice and interest. And then we have School of Journalism and Mass Communication, where you have integrated BJMC and MJMC. So if the student is interested into journalism and mass communication, they move towards that. And from this year, we have started a School of Sciences, where we are running the BSc and MSc programs for the student. So there is a lot of options for the students to move from one program to the other. Apart from this, we also have a very important component, which we call it choice-based credit system, where a student has to take mandatory in each semester a course from some other school. So if I'm a student of BBA, I can take a program from hotel management, I can take a program from IT, I can take a program from law. And in these 6 semesters, I have to choose one CBCS course also. Apart from this, we also have a collaboration with the Ministry of HRD for MOOCs courses, which is massive open online courses. A student has to enroll in one MOOCs courses. So there is a flexibility and there is an opportunity that you get to move apart from your own regular stream. So these are the choices which a student get at this university. And no doubt, apart from this, we are focusing upon the overall development of the student for whichever stream they are going to go. Yeah.
Brilliant. Sir, just to remind all our attendees again, we are going to all the programs which are quoted by sir in the seminar right now. We're going to send a soft copy of the material to everybody who is listening. We are also going to update this on our Facebook page as well as the Hanifa school groups. We are going to share all the details of the university. We'd hope we do that. So I believe the questions are like, these were all the questions which I had.
Fine.
I don't see anybody asking any questions in the chat group as well.
Fine.
I hope that will be it. Let's call it a day for this, right?
Sure, Shrey. And if anybody is having any question or observation, please share our numbers. Our counselor will get back to them and they can ask the question.
Will certainly do, sir. Thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you everyone for attending this. And
thank you, Shrey. Thank you. Please convey our regards to Principal Ma'am, and would definitely, once the lockdown is open, we will definitely come.
Thank you, sir.
Will do, sir.
Thank you.